The following is a presentation of TFNN. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now, Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Namaste and welcome to Mindful Living, everybody. It's Allie Ford, and obviously this is not Tom O'Brien. Tom is out today. Tom, we miss you, and we're sending you lots of love. I'd love to introduce my fabulous guest today, who is Heidi Templeton, a dedicated yoga teacher and practitioner, a master paddleboard yoga teacher, and a dedicated vegan. And it is an honor to have you today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you for being here, Heidi. We're here to talk about the vegan lifestyle with you today. And we talk a lot about nutrition on this show. So we're excited to get into that and inspire conversation and self-reflection. And anybody who might be interested in learning ways to invite holistic, healthy food into their diet, whether you go vegan or not, right? So before we get started, I'm going to welcome you to the show with our weekly tradition, and that is with a shot. This is our healthy elixir. Today it's kale, cucumber, apple, and ginger. So right down your alley, right? Right
yes,
up your
absolutely.
alley and down the hatch.
Up the alley and down the hatch.
So cheers to you, and cheers to all of our listeners. Thanks for being with us.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Ah, yum. It tastes very cleansing. So Heidi, you and I met when you attended my yoga teacher training program.
Yes.
How's yoga teaching going for you?
Very, very rewarding in so many ways. It's being out there, helping others with their practice, being able to engage all kinds of people from every age range, every body type, every reason they come to the mat, and knowing why they're there and watching the healing process from whichever standpoint it is. So it's a very rewarding thing to do.
It is. Yoga is so healing, yoga and meditation. I think a natural segue from the yoga and meditation practice is to get into nutrition, and because those types of practices make us more self-aware. We start to notice how our body feels. We become more aware of how it feels to put things into our body, and I think that would be a natural transition to make a change in your diet.
Absolutely. And I remember during your teacher training program, you were saying, you know, when you come up with a practice or start a practice here, it leads to, you know, a lifestyle change. You go to bed earlier. You don't do, you know, you're not out till 2 o'clock or last call. You know, you start to incorporate more healthier aspects.
Sometimes, maybe.
Sometimes, you know, but it does, and you know, it's coming together with the whole body. It's getting in sync with yourselves. You know, we have so much technology that talks to each other these days. Our body needs to talk to each other. You know, the different neurons firing and things to help us out and assist us. So,
true.
Yeah.
True. Speaking of yoga, I want to invite all of you guys listening to join me on a fabulous yoga and meditation retreat in the beautiful Dominican Republic. And the location is the Samana Peninsula. It is gorgeous. We went just this past August. I took a group of people there. In fact, Tom was on that trip, so he can vouch for how awesome it was. But a lot of people who've gone to Dominican Republic, and coincidentally, it's the most visited island in the Caribbean.
Oh, wow.
But a lot of people who've gone there have never been to the North Coast, which is where the Samana Peninsula is. And it is just untouched, spectacular, pristine turquoise waters. It is white, just stretches of beaches and very little development. So it's really quiet and just relaxing. But at the same time, it dips down behind the highest peaks in all of the Caribbean. And so you have not only the beach activities, but you've got the mountains. You can go horseback riding, hiking to the most fabulous waterfalls. You can go ziplining, and it's just gorgeous. So.
And if you ever have an opportunity to train or learn or practice with Allie Ford, take it, because it's life-changing. It's amazing.
Aw, thanks, Heidi. Well, I just want you to come so we can have fun together. So as I said, we're going to be talking about the vegan lifestyle, and Heidi is vegan.
Yes.
Do you feel like sometimes you ever get labeled as vegan?
Not so much anymore. I think at first, you know, it's a social aspect, and I think at first people have to get used to the fact that it's kind of like stepping into their social, what they're comfortable with as a social situation. At first, family members, brother-in-law, friends, everyone had an opinion, and that's okay. You know, you can. I have my opinion about my things too. And, at first, yes, the label was on, and you know the jokes are made. But after a while, you know, everyone gets along, and it's a beautiful thing.
It's funny. We were talking just before the show, and one of our friends said, "Oh, you know, we have a friend who's vegan, and she still comes to all of our parties." So
yes, I love parties. I like to know.
I have a similar story. You know, when I went vegetarian, I'm from Texas. And Texas is down home, you know, delicious food, a lot of beef, right? And a lot of delicious barbecue. I mean, Texas is famous for its barbecue. And I'll never forget when I went home for my first family gathering after choosing to be vegetarian, sitting down at the family Thanksgiving table and only eating part of the meal. My mother said I was rude. I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom. You know, some people just don't understand why you make these types of changes, and it's a personal choice. And you know, of course, you don't expect anyone or everyone to understand. But I think it's something to communicate here is that you know we're going to be talking about some of the benefits of this lifestyle, and later we have a registered dietitian coming on the show who'll share her perspective as well. And Heidi's going to be talking about her experience making the transition and some of the challenges that she faced. But it's important to note that we're not enforcing this opinion on anyone. Again, we're hoping to just inspire a little self-reflection, and even if you don't go vegan, you know, and change your complete lifestyle, maybe you can find some ways to incorporate some healthy food, you know, holistic, alive, living food into your diet. Yeah? Sound good?
Yes.
All right, so my first question for you is, what does vegan mean?
Vegan to me means living in harmony with everything. Everyone, everything. Like I said, there's so much sync technology these days with all of our electronics that getting the body in sync with itself. When I started going vegan, I really felt this new connection with myself. I felt comfortable, very comfortable in my skin, very comfortable with who I am. And it was a really rewarding experience, and one that I get to practice and experience every day. It's been a great thing.
What inspired you to make the change or even experiment with it?
First experimenting for a very long time, I gave up red meat. That was the first thing. It's like I gave up one animal at a time.
Sure.
Kind of thing. Red meat was the first thing to go. I noticed that I was still feeling okay. I was still feeling energetic. You know, everything was good. I was healthy. And then little by little, as I was growing older, I was still experiencing acne, things like that. The dark eyes, foggy eyes, just not as much clarity as I knew I could have.
Sure.
So I started eliminating things little by little. And that's when, you know, like you were saying about when you went home to your parents' house for Thanksgiving. My poor husband, we've been together for 8 years now, and you know, at first I loved pulled pork and barbecue and threw everything on the grill as soon as we got married. You know, it was like, what did he sign up for?
Exactly. How do we do this?
Yeah. So, but it's a transition, and it's a journey, and it's a really rewarding one. So if you're experiencing or want to experiment with it or anything like that, you know, give yourself the time to do it.
Sure.
You know, it's baby steps.
Exactly. You know, Heidi and I were talking before the show. There's a great website. This woman, Kathy Freston, and her website is just kathyfreston.com, and she's a big proponent of veganism. And she defined a vegan as someone who moves toward eating a plant-based diet so that they're physically healthy as they can be, environmentally friendly, which I think is a really important point, and a kind and thoughtful human being. And she also says it's not about being pure or strict necessarily. There's not necessarily, you know, you're not judging. It's about being informed and having fun while living according to values like kindness and thoughtfulness.
Exactly.
And that plays on what you just said. You know, if you're going to experiment with a lifestyle like this, you take baby steps because I think anytime you run and jump off a cliff, it's very scary. And I think if you're forcing yourself into something, you know, you run up against a lot of inner friction, and you give up a lot sooner than you would have. So, how long have you been eating vegan now?
I've just celebrated my 1-year anniversary on January 1st.
Congratulations.
So, but like I said, it was probably a good 5-year journey to get fully there. So just giving up a little bit at a time.
Right. So you mentioned some of the things, physical changes you've seen in yourself, clear skin, clear eyes, and what other types of changes would you say you've seen physically?
Physically, just a more slimmed down body type, I guess I would say. I've always been athletic and muscular. I was a competitive gymnast for 18 years.
Wow.
So when I started practicing yoga and doing the veganism, I won't say that I'm skinny. I say that I have a very athletic body, and, and I'm very comfortable with that body.
Right.
I'm good with the skin I'm in, and I think that's really important.
It's really important. So many people, you know, don't feel that way when they look in the mirror, and it's, oh my gosh, health begins with feeling good about yourself. So that's wonderful.
Like when we were watching the Grammys that weren't too long ago, everyone was commenting on Beyonce and how amazing she looked and how curvy she looked. And you know, then I was reading, I'm like, well, she's a size 2, and she did, you know, the vegan diet for.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, her and Jay-Z did it for his 40th birthday. They did a 21-day challenge.
Oh wow.
And she looked incredible, but she had the curves, and she looked healthy. So
she did.
It was really great to see.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because there are a lot of famous vegans. You know, I was surprised to learn that Ellen DeGeneres is a vegan, and even one of my favorite R&B artists, Usher. I mean,
yes. On that token, one of my favorite artists, Carrie Underwood, is as well.
I did not know, she
has
amazing.
legs for days. So.
Exactly. So I think, you know, when you start thinking about some of the misconceptions about veganism, is you're going to be this frail, ghostly, you know, unhealthy looking person because of the assumption that you're not going to receive the correct amount of protein or vitamins. Along those same lines, what do people say to you? What were some of the concerns, or maybe you still get those concerns?
The first concern was protein. That was the number one thing, especially from my dad. And there are so many great resources other than meats for protein. Beans, you can buy those in bulk, and they're so inexpensive to have. You get into the grains, just making sure that everything's very organic, very clean. You don't want anything that's filled with too much of the preservatives and things like that. So.
Yeah, that's another interesting point is, you know, a lot of people are blaming, I think, meat, I'll say, for a lot of health disease. But you hit the nail on the head. A lot of disease is the processed foods we're eating, the heavily pesticides and just modified, genetically modified foods. So, you know, whatever you're eating, choose something that is as clean, organic, and holistic as possible.
I think that's the most important message, is whatever you're putting in your body, just make sure it's clean, because, you know, everything is filled and raised off of these hormones and these antibiotics, and, you know, we're wondering why the antibiotics that we're developing aren't fighting diseases, because our bodies are becoming immune to these things. And that's the scary thing.
It is very scary. It's very scary. I was also surprised to learn that Bill Clinton was vegan.
Yes, he was a big, I mean, when I was first coming into this lifestyle, that's when he was starting to talk about it more and more, and we know all the heart trouble that he was having, and, you know, how great he's doing with it now, and it's become a great lifestyle for him.
Also, his health has greatly improved. It's interesting. You know, I had this amazing opportunity to sit down with a vegan athlete, and this man, his name is Rich Roll. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have heard of Rich Roll. He is the New York Times best-selling author of a book called Finding Ultra. And we got to sit down when I was in Costa Rica with him. I mean, we happened to both be there at the same time. I wasn't with him. He's got a beautiful family, 4 kids, and a chef wife who is a vegan.
Nice.
A vegan chef. And it's interesting because in our conversation, you know, he started to dispel a lot of the myths about being vegan. And I have the full interview. We'll post that interview on TFNN for anyone who's interested, and you should watch it, because this man, talk about pushing the body. You know, a lot of people, I think another misconception is, oh, I won't have enough energy, you know, I need all kinds of animal protein and products for fuel. But this man is an Ultraman athlete. The Ultraman is longer than an Ironman triathlon, and he has, we'll talk about some of the other incredible feats he's accomplished on just plant-powered diet. So stay with us, guys. We're going to have a lot more for you from Heidi Templeton and Choosing the Vegan Lifestyle. Don't go anywhere.
Feeling
In quiet markets, investors search for new trading opportunities. We'd like to introduce you to a new product that provides opportunities even in flat markets. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a new and innovative Chicago-based exchange registered with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their trading platform. Nadex never charges a fee to use their platform, which even includes real-time charts and full customization capability. Nadex's unique short-term binary options allow traders and investors to capitalize on strategies even when the underlying markets are quiet. Nadex's innovation has allowed them to come up with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com, or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
No matter where you listen to TFNN programming, we want you to know you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones and iPads, located at the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a mobile connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all of our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and radio call and talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com, educating investors.
We're told to follow our passion and everything else will fall into place. I hope that's what each of you are doing each and every day. Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of Money Master Show at TFNN.com, and my passion for technical analysis is what led me to the most fundamental discovery in pattern recognition, the Rhodes Momentum Indicator, market scanner, and trading strategy, a set of tools that identify the momentum and power of the trend, the likes of which have never been seen before, for every market and every time frame. Yes, folks, the trend is your friend, unless you're on the other side. New to technical analysis? This is the place to start. And experienced traders take advantage of the trend like never before. Experience the power of the Rhodes Momentum Indicator each day, available to subscribers of my newsletter service, Mastering Probability. I guarantee your satisfaction for the next 30 days unconditionally, so there's no risk to you other than being on the wrong side of the trend. Mastering Probability, available on the homepage of TFNN.com. And folks, live with passion.
Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here. What are you doing right now? Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to Mindful Living, folks. I'm here with Heidi Templeton, who's here discussing the vegan lifestyle with me and its benefits, as well as giving us some tips for making that transition or experimenting with it if you are interested. So just before the break, we were talking about Ultraman athlete Rich Roll, who wrote a New York Times best-selling book called Finding Ultra. And the book's awesome. I highly recommend it. In it, he shares, his motivation for becoming vegan. And he was a very successful guy, an attorney. He said he had the window diet. He was coming home late every night, and he'd just stop at the fast food restaurant and ate whatever they could pass you through a window. He'd gained excess of 50 pounds and I think was 40 or approaching 40. And suddenly adopted this vegan lifestyle, calls himself plant-powered. You can check out his website, richroll.com. And completed the Ultraman race, which is, it's unbelievable, on just a plant-powered diet, and as well as created a new race called the Epic 5. And the Epic 5, only he and another man have completed, as far as I know. Wow. It's 5 Ironman triathlons in less than 5 days around the 5 Hawaiian islands.
Wow, that's pretty epic.
on plant-based foods. So I had a chance to sit down with Rich and ask him, lots of questions. Check out the full interview on TFNN.com. But we're going to show you or play just a blip from that interview about where he gets his protein. So Al, if you'd roll the clip, please. Thinking about that, knowing that the human body is that resilient, and especially on this type of fuel, I'd love to dispel some of the myths out there, because I know you get this question all the time. How do you get enough protein?
Yes, not a day goes by where I'm not asked this question, where do you get your protein?
Right.
And I have to say that when I first started this journey, I didn't know the answer to that question either. I was like, how am I getting my protein? I feel great, but this kind of contravenes everything I've ever been taught or thought I knew about nutrition, because I've been told that, milk does a body good, and if you want strong muscles, you've got to eat, animal protein in order to, build those muscles to be that athlete.
And speaking of, just to interject there, I love how you say being vegan or plant-based means you eat nothing with a face and nothing
with a mother.
Nothing with a face and nothing with a mother, except the Mother Earth.
That's right, the Mother Earth. Right? Does she have a face, though? I don't know.
Many faces.
Yeah, many faces, right? The face of all of us. Yeah, and so I had to kind of discover this for myself, because despite the fact that when I started training for these events, I was improving at an incredibly rapid rate. I was recovering more quickly in between my workouts. I wasn't getting sick. I wasn't getting overtrained, and I just felt amazing. And the arc of how quickly I was getting fit was very dramatic. And yet at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, but protein. So I researched it myself. And when we talk about protein, what we're really talking about is amino acids, right? Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. And there's 20 amino acids, 9 of which we call the essential amino acids, because those are the amino acids that our bodies cannot synthesize on their own. They have to come from the foods that we eat. And traditionally, we've been raised with this idea of getting those 9 essential amino acids through eating animal flesh. But in truth, most of these animals are getting those 9 essential amino acids from the plants that they're eating. So when we're eating a plant-based diet, we're really just eating lower on the food chain, closer to nature, right? And we're able to get those same amino acids and to build protein and muscle in the same way as if we were eating animal products, but we're doing it without all the saturated fat and without all the cholesterol. So I actually think it's a better way to get your protein.
Sure. Just would you share some of the things that you like to eat?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the other thing I would say quickly too is that there's a lot of misconceptions about protein intake, and most Americans are probably eating about 2 to 3 times more protein than they need, or what's advisable, or what's healthy. If 10% of your calories are coming from protein, then that's about right. You don't really need to eat any more than that. When I'm eating a well-balanced, wide variety of plant-based foods, I'm automatically getting about 10%. And some of the foods that I like to eat that are higher in protein are things like quinoa, which is, that sounds exotic, doesn't it?
I love it. I love quinoa.
Yeah, it's like a grain, but it's actually a seed. Lentils, beans of all kinds, black beans, kidney beans, and dark leafy greens. And I love to make smoothies in my Vitamix blender, so I eat a lot of kale, a lot of spinach. I'll put some superfoods in there like spirulina, which is actually very high in protein by weight. So a lot of fun, exotic, tasty foods. And the more I kind of walk this path and experiment and play around with these foods, it's amazing how much my taste buds change and my cravings change. And I really look forward to that smoothie, and I crave it. And I'm a guy who just couldn't get through the day without eating a pizza or a cheeseburger. So, it's pretty dramatic. And my message really is, if I could experience such a dramatic shift, that I think, there's something in this for all of us.
I agree. Again, just the endurance races that you've done, and as you say, felt better, on this diet, it's so impressive, and it certainly inspires, I'm sure, many people to give it a try. So there you have it. Rich Roll, the Ultraman athlete and creator of the Epic 5, says that he gets plenty of protein from a plant-based diet, from legumes, nuts, seeds, beans, and he talks a lot about quinoa. He loves quinoa, which I love too. Even dark leafy greens, which he mentioned, kale, of course, we had at the beginning of the show in our juice, and smoothies. And so, we'll talk more about this, with the misconceptions, when we have the dietitian join us in just a few minutes. But I wanted to go back to, you mentioned environmental impact of affecting your decision to choose vegan lifestyle. What are some of the considerations that helped you?
Deforestation. We're tearing down beautiful forests to make room for factory farming, which, if tearing down the forest isn't bad enough, then we get the greenhouse effect from farming those animals, that give off all the carbon dioxide into the planet. And from that, all the animals that are on the land from their manure and what they, dispose of can get into our streams, get into our water system, get into our fish. And then once we lead into that, the bycatching that comes in, the waters aren't safe out there, and we're wiping out mammals, and not so much from I'm an animal lover, so that hurts me, but just what's in the fish, what's actually in the water that's going into the fish, and that whole aspect of it.
Yeah, just to comment on that, so a lot of people say, oh, well, you need to get omega-3s from either fish or fish oil, and we shouldn't eat the farmed-raised fish, or most of it, because there are water issues, water pollution issues, so it's important that you get the wild fish from the ocean. But has anyone checked the state of the oceans lately? I mean, it's been a real issue for a long time. I mean, it's terribly polluted, not to mention overfishing that's happening and been unregulated for years and years and years. And in fact, one of my old favorite fishes used to be salmon to eat. And it comes from the Pacific. And they've been doing testing since the radioactive leakage in Japan. And most of the fish, if not all of the fish that they're testing in the Pacific, are radioactive.
Wow.
You want to eat that wild fish? So from me, a lot of people say, oh, I'm giving up all meat except for fish. Well, that's, in my opinion, maybe one of the first places to start looking for I can't think of the word. Poison. If you are curious at all. And unfortunately, it's sad, but it's true.
Absolutely. And animal agriculture makes up 40% of the contribution to global warming. So
40%?
Yes, 40%. Huge. It is actually ranked above all of the transportation in the world combined, including airplanes. So it's every form of transportation that animal factory farming is above when it comes to global warming aspects.
That's shocking.
Yes.
And again, unfortunate, because I know a lot of industry, particularly here in the States, or around the world, is dependent upon that. But it's certainly something that we need to be more aware of.
And there's other aspects. People will, if we get rid of factory farms, what are those farmers going to do? We need to regroup and rethink of ways to...
Why not grow more grains for us to eat, and not the animals?
And greens, and exactly. There's enough for everyone, and it's sad, I was reading McDonald's slaughters somewhere between like 26 billion cows a day. And is all that getting eaten? As we have these countries in the world that are starving, and you have to look into it in every aspect.
A lot of waste out there. You also mentioned the water. The water, you said the water usage.
Yes, water usage. So 6 months of us taking 1 shower a day is equivalent to raising or just having 1 pound of beef.
So it takes the same amount of water it would take us to take a shower every single day. Is the amount of water used to create 1 pound of beef for us to eat, and that's just unbelievable.
Yes.
And so it is very draining on our resources. And again, I think the more awareness we can bring to it, the more inspiration people might find to consider ways to incorporate more of how we should be eating natural, holistic foods, grown on the earth. It's interesting to mention, I've got 2 kids, and there are a lot of comments by parents who say, oh, my kids would never eat that way, and they'll only eat chicken nuggets, and they'll only eat hamburgers and French fries or mac and cheese out of a box, And really, the box is the first concern there.
Yes.
But where is that food coming from? It did look like that.
It doesn't grow in a box.
Right. It's as far from its natural state as possible. But, so that's important to mention, that our children will eat what we give them, and it might take a little training. But I did talk to Rich Roll about this, and you mentioned this at the beginning of the show, is, if you're going to transition to this, take it easy, take it slowly, take baby steps. And same with the children. The more healthy options we put out for them, the more they're exposed to, the more they're going to choose it.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. And when they come adapt to something, they won't know any better. They just think that that's natural, and that every kid's eating that.
Right. I went to a party
having kale chips. What are you talking about?
Right. It's true. That would be so wonderful. I went to a party once, and this is recently. Couple children walked in of another parent at the party, and they skipped the mac and cheese, the chips, and all the junk, and went straight for the veggie tray and just ate raw veggies. So stay with us, folks. We're going to be right back with a registered dietitian and get her perspective on what it means to go vegan. Stay with us.
never happy. Oh, no, I get a good feeling.
You take a hands-on approach to managing your investment strategy. You're always looking for the next trading opportunity to magnify your perspective. Direction Shares connects sophisticated traders with a powerful array of ETFs from a wide range of asset classes. The markets may go up and down, and you want tools for both sides of the trade. Discover how we can help at DirectionShares.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction Shares carefully before investing. A prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction Shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction Shares at 800-851-0511. Prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. Funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors in point dynamic strategies. Investors in the fund should understand the consequences of seeking daily investment results, understand the risk of shorting, and intend to actively monitor and manage their investments. Distributor Foresight Fund Services, LLC.
Who says you can't take it with you? TFNN says you can. With your mobile device and TFNN's live radio streams, TFNN has put it all in the palm of your hands. No special apps to download. No subscription fees for live radio or Tiger TV streams. We say you can.
Now let's go with the doll, because the doll is going to generate a basically higher dollar, lower market. And what the doll has done, and this whole uptrend, folks, is gone sideways. The way it works, folks, is this.
We say you can. The Tiger Financial News Network. Smart investors and professional traders know you can. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling. Yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling. Yeah.
Welcome back to Mindful Living. I'm here with Heidi Templeton, who is sharing with us what it means to be vegan and how to make that transition in your life. We're also joined by a nutrition expert, Abigail Daugherty, right here in Tampa Bay, who is a registered and licensed dietitian and owner of The Soul of Health, whose website we'll have up at TFNN for you. It's thesoulofhealth.com, where she focuses on helping people become their very best selves through realistic lifestyle nutrition. Abby, welcome to the show. Abby, are you with us? Abby is not with us, so we'll see if we can get her on the line. In the meantime, I had another question for you, Heidi, and that is, we talked about when you started making the transition to vegan lifestyle. How did you go about it? Like, moving slowly, or you said making a couple changes?
Yeah, it was making a couple changes. Like I said, just quitting one animal at a time. But I think the most important thing is to have that dish that you love, that one just craving, that your go-to, maybe comfort food, and being able to find the vegan option for it. Like mine is cheesy Mexican, like dips, chips and salsa, things that are salty, things like that.
Okay.
So my biggest thing was finding a really good cheese that could melt and get the ooey gooiness that I loved. And Daya, fortunately, has a very good cheese that melts very well, and it's very delicious.
What cheese is that?
Daya cheese.
And what's it made of?
It's actually tapioca. It's made. That's what it's based out of. So it's really, really delicious. And Publix actually has a couple brands of it, but you can find it.
Grocers.
Yeah.
So for those of us who like cheese, how would you say it tastes? Like, what, if you can remember, what does it taste like? Cheddar, Swiss?
Well, they have all kinds. They have pepper jack, they have mozzarella, they have cheddar, they have Jack Haverty, which I make a really good grilled cheese sandwich with the Jack Haverty, apples, and spinach. That's very, very good.
It sounds delicious. Speaking of, once you make that transition, do you ever cheat? I mean, and I don't mean necessarily with animal products, but what is your guilty indulgence?
My guilty indulgence would probably, like I said, be something salty, to be the crisp, like a chips and salsa kind of thing, and then I go to the other side of the spectrum, and some bananas with a peanut butter is very good too. So either one of those.
And still, it sounds really healthy.
Just when you need that last little bit at night,
Yeah, except for the chips. I mean, I'm with you, because another thing I try to avoid, I mean, this is a whole different show, which we will have here, but is the gluten.
Yes.
And so I often find myself gravitating toward hummus and chips because hummus is it's vegan.
Right.
And then the chips is gluten-free. And when you try and combine those two options, boy, it gets really hard.
It does. It does.
And then you said, so you give up one animal at a time. At once. Now, are you the type of personality you give it up and that was it?
Yeah, pretty much. I was pretty good about it, pretty diligent about it. I really didn't miss anything. There wasn't anything that I was craving or felt that I had a lack of once I found the things to substitute it.
Okay. It's a very good tip. It's a very, very good tip.
And experiment. Get into the kitchen. Have fun with it. I was allergic to my kitchen until I became vegan. Like, it was not a used room in our home.
Wow. I do find that when you get more invested in what you're eating, your nutrition, you start taking ownership of it. And you have this pride surrounding it.
And now it's like, and I feel like, we say in yoga that our asana practice is a form of moving meditation. I kind of feel like that's the same thing about me cooking. Like, it's quiet. I have my little bulldog sitting in there with me. Like, it's just kind of a moving meditation, floating back and forth, and it's a really good time to feel connected.
Yes.
So it's put love into your food.
Very true. It's very, very true. You can put love into your food and in the effort that you're making in making that food.
Yes.
I also mentioned, so you mentioned the bananas and the nut butters. That was one of the sweet surprises to me, emphasis on the sweet, because like cashew butter and almond butter, they are extremely, extremely decadent.
They are.
And I think a lot of people think that they're just going to be so deprived of like yummy, delicious food.
And even beyond the butter of it, using cashews, like soaking them for an hour and then using them to make, like I made a Alfredo sauce last week with cashews, and it was so rich, and so oh my gosh, it was so good.
How about, one of the things that I love to eat is the veggie burgers. And now I'll say, when I was first making the transition to vegetarianism, I was eating the ones out of the box a lot, which studies show are not the safest thing. Are you making those at home?
Yes, and those are very easy to make as well. I love to make the black bean burgers where you get in there, you mash it, you're using your hands. But
what else do you put in besides black beans?
Spices. I usually top them with some kind of avocado or some kind of guacamole that I make for myself, some kind of salsa. Corn goes in there, so a couple different ones. Yeah.
That's the thing, you have to be willing to get creative.
Exactly. Like a black bean and mango burger. You would never think it works, and then you got something new.
So if we go back to some of the health benefits of eating this way, it is important to note that you did the research yourself when you started making the switch. And there is a lot of helpful research out there, a lot of tools, like the one we mentioned with Kathy, Freston.com. So some of the research that I found that I'll just mention to you, the first says, the fact is that vegetarians, and of course vegan would be the ultimate vegetarian, vegetarians are healthier than meat eaters. I'm not saying that, so if you're a meat eater, please, no offense. This is just a research I found online. Is one of the most consistent findings of nutritional epidemiology. According to research, people on a plant-based diet are consistently slimmer. And now I want to pause there and say we're not doing this to get skinny. When we say slimmer in yoga, we mean removing the subcutaneous fat which gathers around the organs and causes disease. But slimmer and healthier than meat eaters with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and diabetes. And I believe to expand on those points, we now have Abby on the phone. Abby, are you with us?
Hey.
Hi.
I'm here. Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. I think this is such an interesting conversation, and we would really love to have the perspective of a registered dietitian and nutritionist. So can you tell me in general, what is your perspective of going vegan?
Honestly, I think it's a whole lifestyle change. So if you can do the lifestyle change, I think it's a great idea. I've done research recently looking into it, and there are no recommendations as far as, pregnant, breastfeeding, children. Really, anybody can acquire a vegan diet. It's just making sure you have a balanced diet and getting whole foods and really focusing on meal planning. So I think it's a great option. And right when I came on, I was listening to all the benefits. I was like, yep, check, all those things.
So do you ever recommend this diet to any of your clients? And if so, why?
More so what I would recommend to my clients would be adopting a more plant-based lifestyle.
Okay.
If they came to me and were looking for, even more changes, and they already do a lot of these things, I just feel like it's such a lifestyle change that the person who's doing it really has to want to make the change.
Right.
So rather than recommending it to somebody, I might recommend some of the principles and, incorporating mostly plant-based sources of protein, because like you said, there are so many benefits to adopting a more plant-based lifestyle.
Right. What about, there's a lot of question, I think, about where you get your healthy fats when you choose a vegan diet. What would your suggestion be there?
Oh, well, there's now chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds are a great way to get fat, coconut oil. There's just so many, especially now in the last couple of years, there's just been a boom of not even new fats, but just we're kind of re-recognizing and doing more research on different types of fats. So there really are a lot more ways to get good fat into your diet on a vegan diet.
And what about soy products? What's your opinion of soy products?
Okay, this is a good question. Again, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here.
This is, from the research that I've done, there's nothing wrong with soy products.
Okay.
But the best way to eat soy is in its whole food form.
Okay.
So synthetic soy, sometimes in bars and different types of foods, more packaged foods can be harmful. Right. But if you focus on really eating the whole food sources, so edamame, tempeh, trying to think of tofu, are going to be the better options than a synthetic form of soy. Those can be harmful, and there's still so much research going on. It's hard to say.
Right.
But I know what I recommend to my clients is whole food sources.
Right.
Soy.
And if someone is, let's say, allergic to dairy, which I know is really common, and in fact, when my son was young, our doctor suggested we take him off of dairy because he had, I want to say, 6 ear infections within 4 months. And just experiment with that. But let's say someone's having an issue with dairy. Do you have a favorite alternative, or what do you recommend?
Meaning instead of something to supplement the calcium or the milk product itself?
I'd say, well, both. I mean, first, what would your favorite substitute for milk cow products be? And then, your best sources for calcium that are not cow's dairy.
So there definitely is the soy milk. I would only recommend, though, doing that a few times a day, so not, drinking a gallon of soy milk a day.
Because it's so processed?
Well, it is processed. I wouldn't say that's my top choice.
Okay.
There are so many other sources of calcium I think people forget about. Kale, broccoli, bok choy. There's calcium in roots and legumes. So really focusing on those whole food sources. Moving more. I know for babies that's kind of an issue. Sometimes a calcium supplement, if you really feel like you're not getting enough calcium, would be an option. But I feel like there's so many other options, and if it's a dairy allergy, there's always going for a lactose-free milk.
Right.
And that would probably be my first recommendation if it weren't a vegan or a vegetarian, lacto or vegetarian.
Yeah, so many sources, so many great options out there. It just requires us opening our minds a little bit.
Absolutely.
I know, it really is just taking a little bit of thoughtful time to plan those meals and to think about what you're eating and what you're putting in your diet.
Right. My last question for you, Abby, is what would be your biggest concern for people going on on this lifestyle, or the biggest thing to look for that maybe it wouldn't be right for them? Anything?
Well, somebody who doesn't have a ton of time to maybe plan or really think about their meals, because there is a risk for vitamin deficiencies. But honestly, in just everyday, diets, there's always a chance for vitamin D or vitamin deficiencies if you're not eating a whole food, really varied lifestyle, and you're not eating those types of foods. So it would be my fear for anybody who's really not following a healthy lifestyle for vitamin deficiencies. But probably that would be my real only thing. But just to watch it, and if you are following a whole food diet, and you're getting all those sources, and you're focusing on getting good protein and some of the other foods we talked about, then I say go for it.
Yeah. That's such good advice. You're right. Even though it doesn't matter what diet you're eating, you can always be vitamin deficient, regardless of what it is. So it is important to research what you're eating and know what you're getting and eat a balanced, diverse diet.
Exactly, and I always say my favorite foods are the ones that don't need a nutrition label. So anything you can buy that don't even have one. So
we will heed that advice, Abby. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are so honored you join us. And for more information on Abby and her services, visit her website, thesoulofhealth.com. Abby, thanks for being here, and have a beautiful day.
Oh, thank you so much. You too. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. We'll talk to you again.
All right. Bye-bye.
So, Heidi, again, our famous vegan here who's inspiring us to be healthy and fit. And you should see this woman do yoga, and she's just a beautiful soul inside and out.
Thank you.
I would say, again, give us for people who are curious and who want to give this a go, your 2-3 top tips.
Top tips. Get familiar with your spice cabinet. That is one of the best ways to, step away from the animal fats, using butter to flavor things and whatever else we can pull out of the refrigerator. Get familiar with the spice cabinet. Second is having applesauce on handy. I tell you, once you start to bake with applesauce, you're never going to bake with eggs again. It is just so good and so moisture rich, and it's delicious.
Oh my goodness.
And then beans and wild rice are always great things just to have in bulk. Wild rice has a lot of the iron, the protein, fiber, magnesium, and the zinc that we do need, and it's good dish just to have if you're in a bind or just want to try something different.
Yes, the baking is key. I'm going to have to try. And you'll have to share some of your recipes with us. Do you post your recipes on your website?
Absolutely. I post my recipes on the website about 2 to 3 a week. It's HeidiKTemp.com.
Okay, I'll make sure that's posted when we post the archive of this show.
Great.
And you can link to your delicious recipes, and you write blogs about.
I do.
I think it's interesting that you share your experience, because it's when you're taking on a big change like this, it's important to know you're not alone.
Exactly. Well, that's what I think it is, and feeding it to social media. Social media can be a great tool for as much heat as it gets. It's good to share things. It's good to have an environment and a community that's behind you. It's very supportive as long as it's a good energy being put out there. And you have people that maybe you're inspiring or they're inspiring you, then use it.
I agree. Just be mindful of how much time it's taking.
Yes.
Set some time where you don't spend hours. We go onto Facebook to get a recipe from Heidi, and next thing you know, you're looking at a long-lost high school friend's pictures from a trip to Mexico.
Yes.
Which was so not the intention. So, my biggest tip for using social marketing is, know why. Set your intention before you go on. Get what you needed, and then get on to the rest of your day, so you don't get sucked in to the whirlpool.
There's a lot of good, support when it comes to people-wise too. That's not in the screen.
That's true. Sometimes we forget about the person sitting next to us because we're so interested in the person on the screen.
Yes.
That's a little funny. But I am certainly inspired, and again, as a mom, when I think about some of the things that my children eat, and let's face it, we're busy, and sometimes you have to make quick decisions and like grab a pizza or something else.
Yes, yes.
But in general, just having the knowledge that a plant-based diet can help prevent disease, can, you know, prevent even things like diabetes, which is a huge concern in our society today, cardiovascular disease. And, you know, just to help us feel better about ourselves, like you said, when you first started or made the transition, I mean, why wouldn't we want to investigate doing that for our children?
Exactly. And with kids being so active these days and sports becoming a big thing, looking at these plant-based diets for kids can be a really great thing, because there's a lot of great benefits for the anti-inflammatory wise, where you're cutting out processed sugars and things that do, inflammate joints, or if they're growing, that can always be a big concern. So
it's so true.
It's a great thing to bring in. Like our guest earlier, there's so many cyclists and runners that do adopt that plant-based diet because of the benefits for the joints and different aspects of that, the osteoporosis look on things, and it can be a great thing.
It's interesting you said that, because that's one of the things Rich Roll claimed, is that when he switched to the plant-based diet, he found his body just recovered more quickly.
Yes.
And we're not talking about a 5-mile run here. We're talking about 20 plus miles of running and miles of swimming and biking. And the plant-based diet helped fuel his body to do some very incredible things. So you have to check out that full interview on our website, TFNN, and hear what Rich Roll has to say about being a plant-powered athlete. I love the sound of that.
I know. It does.
It makes being vegan sexy.
It does.
If I may say so myself. You're glowing. I think that, but you hit the nail on the head. When you feel better, you're more confident about yourself and more effective in life.
And it's been fun. It's been such a fun. I never would have thought in a million years that, I loved pulled pork when I was 20.
Right.
And with my 28th birthday quickly approaching here, it's a completely different person than I was. But, you're supposed to evolve, and that's what I've evolved in.
Yeah.
And I'm happy and I'm comfortable, and it's, if it's for you, then try it.
Right, yes. So, Mom, I know you're watching, and I apologize that I told the world that you thought I was rude because I wouldn't eat your steak. And, I know it's been years now and you understand, but that was just a Texas thing.
Yes.
And I love you. But, I too, I feel pretty good about eating a plant-based diet. And it is. I feel like I'm my own best experiment.
Yes, absolutely.
To see how the foods make us feel, and go on your best intuition. Listen to your body, and if anything, we hope this conversation inspires you to eat more natural foods.
Absolutely.
And actually start growing your own garden.
Yes.
Right? Have you forayed into that yet?
We do. We have a small plant-based or potter-based garden of our herbs and kale and different things like that. We live in a condo, so we have to.
Not a lot of space. Well, lots of great ideas. Heidi, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy and so honored.
We hope we inspire you to at least explore and check out what veganism means. And join us again next week for more mindful living. Have a lovely day, guys. Namaste.
Namaste.
You're watching Tiger TV.